So AMD introduced the 16-core 3rd gen Ryzen, but is this the Intel killer delayed or just fake news? Now, if you've been watching the news from Computex this week, you'll likely have been watching reports regarding, well, the Ryzen and keynote speeches today, wondering when that extra slide would arrive with the expected 16-core CPU. So far, it hasn't shown up. Shortly after the keynote, the internet was awash with both positive and negative opinions about the 3rd gen Ryzen, with some of the latter focusing on the lack of a 16-core part. Now, as usual, everything we knew up until that point was based on supposed leaks and rumors, such as Threadripper being cancelled and various models that we're now fairly sure do not exist appearing at retailer websites. However, there's plenty of evidence, some fairly convincing, that suggests AMD has simply delayed its launch rather than what could be called the Ryzen 9 3950X never existing in the first place. So, we've already seen under the hood of the Ryzen 9 3900X, and there are clearly 2 core chiplet dies as well as the I/O die. Now, if you are skeptical, then that is fairly convincing evidence. It's highly unlikely that AMD has used one 8-core CCD and one 4-core CCD, and has instead included 2 8-core CCDs but disabled 4 cores on the Ryzen 9 3900X, dropping it down from 16 to 12 cores. Physically, we're there, and that's the most important thing, but the CPU has been spotted behind the scenes. There's been much evidence the 16-core CPU exists as any other, but some even clearer came from Tech Yes's City's YouTube channel, which claims to have gone behind the scenes at AMD's event today and has seen that 16-core AMD CPU up and running up to 4.25 gigahertz. Now, the score isn't dissimilar to the one that they added, the author at least, to their CPU performance graph a few days ago, which you can see below. And as you can see, a spectacular result for a mainstream desktop CPU. In case you didn't see the photo, here it is. Boom. Clocks in right about there. So, yeah. They also go on to just explain more information about the differences between the Ryzen 9 core, or the 9, the 7, the 5s. So, obviously going along with that are different motherboards and capabilities that can handle that power. So, we'll definitely see. Most likely, AMD is likely waiting to see what Intel plans are with Cascade Lake. Didn't have quite the 16-core CPU specs nailed down in time, perhaps the most logical explanation for its omission thus far. So we'll just have to wait and see what goes on with the Cascade Lake CPUs. Very sound decision, for the simple reason that the 16-core CPU has proven itself to be capable of toppling the current Intel desktop flagship, the Core i9 9980XE. Now, needless to say, AMD already has a spectacular lineup, and for those who are interested in testing it, can't wait to test it out. But, yep, we'll have to wait to see how this final little chapter plays out.